Hey, there we go. It was not letting me start the stream. It would start it and then say like, oh, stream not available. Can I turn you sideways now or are you going to have a fit again? Okay. Sorry, give me 1 second. I wasn't prepared. I had everything all set up. I had it just the way I wanted it and goodness, it freaking just wouldn't let me start it. Like I would press the play button and it just said no. It said no, you're not allowed to stream on Twitch today. But all right, so I'm gonna go ahead, just get everything set up here because apparently I don't know how to do that before I start this. I had everything set up perfectly and now I feel like, oh goodness. All right, so for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Phoenix. I am the host of Phoenix Reads, and so this is a podcast. I do try to do a YouTube video for the podcast. This is in a knot, and that's bothering me. So I usually stream on TikTok, but with the chance of TikTok taking the axe, I'm trying to find other places to stream, and since I've had a Twitch, I was using it periodically to stream video games. I decided that, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and try streaming on Twitch for the podcast. I feel like since I already have my YouTube channel hooked up to it, it's an easy just kind of once over instead of having to download it to my phone and then upload it. But yeah, so we're going to try it on this for this week and see how this works. I also get to have it horizontally so it fits on the YouTube app and TV if you watch YouTube on TV like I do. I do. It fits on there better. With TikTok, you can't have it sideways. You can have it sideways, but it doesn't convert that way when you save the video. So I apologize for not having everything all set up like I usually do if you have watched anything on TikTok, which from the comments that I usually get, I'm assuming nobody is over here from TikTok because usually I just get comments of, who is she talking to? I'm talking to the people that might be watching in the future, so y'all can jog on. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get stuff set up here. I just need that and my notes, and we will get started with the intro. Once again, getting rid of the pencil. You think I would learn to do that before I start this, but once again, if there's anything we have learned, Phoenix doesn't learn shit. I might actually take my glasses off because I'm very much tired of seeing that ring light in my glasses. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to record the intro. As usual, this is all completely uncut for the video's sake. I don't have the ability to edit. I am not an editor. So, yeah. So, I'm gonna put my hand right in your faces and... Okay, that way I don't feel like I have to sit up so high and I can be a little comfortable without killing my back. Alright. Oh, actually, you know what? I did not put my sign up. So, give me 1 second. I am not with it today. I'm very much having a case of the Mondays. I don't know how to get out of here without... You know what? We're just going to risk it today. We're risking it for the biscuit. Let's just say fuck it. I'll leave my sign not up and hope nobody knocks on the door and I have to stop. Hey everyone! Welcome to another episode of Phoenix Reads. Today's episode is a series of Am I the Assholes? I think we're going to keep that for Mondays. So, as usual, the users of the stories who we're reading will be in the description below. I also need to change up my intro, I think, for you guys, but I do screenshot these now instead of just saving them to my Reddit, save page. I feel like this way I lessen the risk of saving one and then going to read it and it's gone. So I will still continue to put usernames in the description, but I can't say whether or not their stuff will be there anymore. And some of these have been saved from I don't know if any of the ones I'm reading today are, but I know some of the ones that I have saved are from a re-upload page. So yeah. But as usual, you can tag me in stories that you'd like to hear me read, and we will get started right after this ad. I really need to come up with a new intro. Alright, give me 1 second. Let me do my little magic on here. Shit, I think it was this one. Yeah. Gotta remember what music goes to what. That's hard sometimes. Okay. I'm also trying something a little different by not having, like, my whole cord for my mic out, since I don't need the whole mic all the way out. And let me get to my screenshots. Okay. So yeah, we're just gonna roll right into it like we usually do. Hi, good Monday afternoon. It's very funny because I'm also recording this on a Monday, and as of right now, we have less than an hour until the new episode goes live, so I'm very excited about that. I will probably still be recording when it goes live. I'm not expecting like just a waterfall of input or anything like that, but I'm just very excited for the episodes and for the YouTube series to start back up, so let's get going. Am I the asshole for calling my husband a fucking asshole in front of our kids? I reserve my right to make an opinion later on that, because I can definitely say that I have maybe said something along these lines before. Probably not those exact words, but I've definitely said something similar in front of our kid. You get angry and, sometimes shit just flies out of your mouth that you kind of regret later, but I've definitely gotten better at trying not to say stuff like that in front of my child, especially now that he's older and can understand what the fuck I'm saying. Let me preface this story by stating that I'm a person living with multiple disabilities which affect my vision, mobility, and mental health. That looks wrong. Sorry for those watching online or watching YouTube. I have been living with these conditions for the past 10 years, but the last year has been really hard. So last night, we went to an event as a family. My husband, 2 teenagers, and I. Oh, God, going anywhere with teenagers, I think, is just... It's like toddlers, because you never know what kind of mood they're going to be in. It was stormy out, high winds, snow, icy sidewalks. Ugh. We had to park maybe 400 meters away from the venue. I have no idea how far that is in feet. I'm just going to assume it's a very long ways, because I know 1 meter is at least 3 feet. So... for anybody that would like to educate me on meters and tell me how far away that is in American measurements, please, I'm more than welcome to that. When we walked to the venue, it was daylight and the sidewalks were passable. My husband and kids walked ahead of me. I was a bit annoyed, but I let it go, not wanting to ruin the evening. I've definitely been in one of those moods before where it's like I feel like this whole story is going to be one of those things where OP was in a really bad fucking mood. And as somebody that has definitely been in a bad fucking mood for just, like, no reason, just absolutely no reason before, I can feel their pain. After the event, we left, obviously. I turned away from my family for maybe 20 seconds to say goodbye to someone who sat with us at the event. When I turned around, my family was halfway to the car. I was really annoyed. Are they the fucking Flash? Like, to go 400 meters and be halfway to the car when you'd only turn around for 20 seconds, I don't think that that's correct. Sorry. Something ain't mathin'. Sorry. Not for me. I trudged through the dark, snowy weather. I literally could barely make it to the car because the wind was so strong and the sidewalk was quite icy at this point. I finally made it to the parking lot, and my husband pulled the car out of the parking spot, and picked me up probably 10 feet from where we were parked. Okay, so I can see, like, her being I'm assuming it's a her. I can see them being in a bad mood, and just kind of, like, one thing after another kind of just irking them, and them just feeling kind of shitty and just ready to be pissed off at everything. So I can understand, like, standing there and seeing them pull out and, like, to meet me, like, 10 feet and go, well, what was the fucking point? Like, why didn't you just tell me and then, like, come pick me up by the door or something like that? But I'm trying to see both sides here. I'm trying not to be biased. I got in the car and said, thanks a lot for waiting for me, fucking asshole. My husband acted surprised and said he planned to bring the car around to pick me up. Hearing is not one of my disabilities, and my family never told me this was the plan. We had told the kids we'd go to their favorite restaurant afterwards. I'm rereading over this because I guess I'm confused. I guess I thought they were already going out somewhere to eat. I guess I'm not sure what. Okay, sorry. To pick me up. Hearing is not one of my disabilities, and my family never told me this was the plan. We had told the kids we'd go to their favorite restaurant afterwards, and we drove there in awkward silence. Gee, you think? When we got there, my husband acted all sulky, didn't order food, and was staring at his phone. I looked at him and told him he at least owed me an apology. He said, "I'm sorry, it was a misunderstanding. My daughter, 19F, said I was ruining the night." I mean, I can kind of see that, and I think that, I think what we all need to remember as parents and as adults is there is a time and a place for conversations like this, and maybe on a family night out at a restaurant, maybe that's not the place to have that conversation. Hold on. Sorry, there's hair on my screen. I let it go, but I'm still upset by the situation. So here I am, prepared for an honest judgment. Am I the asshole? Edit, or this says ETA, I think it means edit. I accept my judgment that I was the asshole. I spoke to my husband and apologized. He conceded that he didn't communicate well and I told him that I shouldn't have blown up at him. I also apologized to the kids. Okay, that's an ending I was okay with. I still feel hurt that they took off without saying anything, but I completely overreacted and I will do better moving forward. So 1, bravo to OP for admitting that, they made a mistake too, and that they could admit that they were the asshole in this situation. Because, to be fair, I can understand, being in just a foul mood where everything sucks ass. And honestly, that's probably the case for them. They're always in some sort of pain, it seems like. They have multiple issues, and getting around really hard it sucks. And when you get left behind, it can feel like, it can feel like when somebody has an idea and they don't communicate to you, and they don't say anything hey, I'm gonna go get the car, you stay here. And you just you turn around to say something to somebody and turn around and they're gone, and you sometimes depend on them for help getting around. I can understand that being a really, really frustrating situation to be in. I can understand standing there and being like, well, you know what? Fuck the rest of this night. I'm done. I can definitely understand that feeling and feeling just frustrated. So it's yes, I do think the husband should apologize, which it sounds like he did. For not communicating that it's hey, you stay here. I'm going to go get the car. I'll be right back. That way you don't have to walk, all this way. But to just take off, I couldn't tell you the amount of times I've been in the store with my husband and I have said something and then turned to look at him to get his reaction or to make eye contact, because that's what you do when you're having a conversation. It's just sometimes I'm usually pushing the cart and then him be gone. I'm just standing here talking to my fucking self. I'm talking to talking to the fucking cans in Walmart. It gets very frustrating, and there are some times, and a lot of the times when we go shopping, my anxiety kicks into high gear, and I hate it. I have this feeling that if we don't get there on time, I'm not gonna get what I need, and I've fought with this for a really long time. I try to ignore it the best that I can. But there are just some times where it's we're out and about and it's I'm just done being out and about and I want to fucking go home. So I can see the some small thing that happens a lot be really fucking annoying in that one moment where you're just I fucking hate this. Please just fucking let me go home. Let this be done with. But I am very proud of OP for apologizing and also getting an apology, because at the same time I feel like they deserved one as well. Because that can be a really shitty situation to be in, and it can also be really stressful, just in general. Am I the asshole for taking my stepson to see the doctor without my husband's permission? As somebody with stepkids, I feel like medical things like that is something you need permission for. So, do I already want to say, yeah, you're the asshole in this? I very much do, but I also want to hear their side of the situation. I, 25F, live with my husband, 29M, and my stepson, 7M. My husband has full custody of my stepson, Riley. I really hope that's not their actual name. Riley has always been a late bloomer. When I started dating... He's 7! How the fuck are you... I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. When I started dating my husband, Riley was 5. And he still took naps, even though most children grow out of them by then. You do realize that you can have growth spurts at 7 or at 5 and be really tired. Like, my son sometimes, when he gets his growth spurts, he either eats a whole lot or he's really fucking tired a lot. Given he doesn't take naps, and I don't think he took naps at 7, or at 5, but at the same time, every kid is different. That's what makes kids wonderful. Okay, sorry. When he turned 6, he stopped stopped needing naps during the day when he was sick, except when he was sick or did a lot of physical activity. Riley also has ADHD. So do I. So I know the hyperactivity can tire children out sometimes. I swear to God, if you're going to compare your ADHD to that child's, I'm going to fight you. Because everybody is different. Again, that's what makes everybody so wonderful. So just because you have ADHD does not mean that your ADHD is the same as your child's ADHD. I have ADHD. My husband has ADHD. My son has ADHD. His ADHD is different than mine. And that's okay. I mean, it makes it more difficult for me to understand, but it's similar to the way my husband had ADHD. So I get some insight, or I get to be like, hey, like, it's just this. Like, this is his thought process. We're going to be okay. And it's, you know what? Then it's fine. I'm good. It's all right. A few weeks ago, Riley had started taking naps again for around an hour a day. He also began falling asleep on car rides. So, the length of time he napped kept increasing and now naps for 3 hours a day, meaning that he's asleep for 13 to 14 hours in a day. I usually pick him up from school, and his teacher tells me that he's exhausted and yawning the whole day. I became extremely concerned, and I told my husband that Riley needs to see a doctor, but he didn't think it was serious. To be fair, I'm going to play devil's advocate here before I know the whole story, and I know some people might hate that, and I feel like I'm very one-sided on this. I'm trying not to be. He may have already taken him to the doctor for some of these issues and may already know what's going on. So I kind of want to keep that in the back of my mind. But at the same time, I also know that some people can be very like, he's not bleeding, he's not dying, he's not hacking up a lung. Like, I'm not taking him to the doctor for this. And told my husband that Riley needs to see a doctor, but he didn't think it was serious. He thought that Riley was sleeping more because he was growing, but I was still worried. I admittedly don't know much about children, as I'm the youngest on both sides of my family, but I spoke to my parents, in-laws, and searched online, and they all said it was weird. My in-laws did mention that my husband slept a lot as a child, but not to the extent that my stepson does. My husband still didn't want to take Riley to see the doctor. I decided to make an appointment for Riley anyways, and he saw the doctor yesterday. I'm honestly really surprised that they let you do that without the dad's consent. I mean, maybe you have some sort of medical consent through the dad because you're married, but at the same time, I'm really surprised that they let you do that without, like, dad being there or dad being the one to make the appointment. The doctor was very concerned, and he arranged a blood test for next week. He also gave me a list of foods to cook for Riley to improve his energy levels. When I told my husband, he was pissed off that I had gone behind his back about his son's health care. He wanted me to apologize, but I believe I was acting in Riley's best interest. Most people I've spoken to have said that I was wrong because Riley isn't my son, but I would like Reddit's opinion. Am I the asshole? So again, I'm trying not to be one-sided on this, but at the same time, it's kind of hard because I think before I had kids, or before I had my own kid, I would be like, yeah, you're totally in the right. Like, you care about your son. Like, you care about him. You love him. You're there to help raise him. You're there to make things, easier for your husband. And it sucks that he's not taking things seriously like you are. Like, good for you for sticking up for being a voice for him. Which, that's still a side I feel. But at the same time, I know, me personally, I would be very frustrated and upset if I did all this and, you know, told you over and over again, you know, hey, like, it's fine, leave him alone. And then you turn around and do it anyway without me saying it's okay. I would be very frustrated, and I do think you should apologize because, one, it's obviously something that's touchy for, you know, your husband. And at the same time, I also feel like maybe he knows something that you don't. That is a possibility. You've only been in this child's life for 2 years. It's very possible that he knows something about his son that you don't because that's his son. But also at the same time, I understand that not seeing any of that, or that him not seeing your side of this can be very scary. And it can be very stressful too, because it's like, how am I supposed to know, like, that he's okay or anything like this if you have information you're not telling me? So I hope that you get some answers. I might try to check on this one and see, one, if it's still there, and two, if we have any updates about it, because when I took this one, it was only like 6 hours ago, and I took it last week. So I'm hoping there might be an update. I might check and see if there is one, and maybe I will give an update next Monday if I remember to. Fingers crossed on that one. Okay. Would I be the asshole if I filed another noise complaint about my neighbor's very loud toddler? As someone who has had a toddler and has dealt with multiple toddlers, I used to do daycare, and I was in the 2-year-old room with 22 2-year-olds. One, toddlers are very fucking, like, aggressive. Like, I learned that at a very early on, like, how aggressive and, like, not even just demanding, but, like, how territorial toddlers can be. Toddlers are loud as fuck, like, just in general. Kids are loud as fuck in general. I'm really torn about this. I, F33, work fully remote and am a bit of a homebody, so I'm usually in my apartment most of the time, either working or living my life as one does. Several months back, we had a family move across the hall from us with a little girl around 2 or 3 years old. They moved in over the course of 2 weeknights, so a lot of banging and shout-talking in the halls between 10 to 12 at night, so not a good first impression for both myself and my roommate. I can understand that. I could not imagine moving in somewhere and doing it, like, late at night. Especially in, like, an apartment-style complex. Like, if it's a house, like, you kind of have a little bit more leeway, like, here, because the houses aren't as close to each other, depending on where you are, but I couldn't imagine moving into an apartment late at night over a weeknight when most people work and just have, like, making all kinds of fucking noise. I would be stressed the fuck out and feeling so bad about it. Over the months they've been here, their little one has proven to be extremely vocal. Most toddlers are. While working, she will often scream bloody murder at the top of her lungs, loud enough that it feels like she's standing directly in my apartment. Yeah, that can be a lot. One of the 2-year-olds that I watched, I think he was autistic. I think. I never really got any kind of information, but he didn't want to hug his mom. He wasn't, like, a big hugger. But we practiced hugs on his terms, and when he hugged his mom for the first time, she, like, almost cried when she told me thank you. But he would have this thing where if anybody, like, if he was playing by himself and he wanted to play by himself, if anybody came and got, like, too close to him, he would just scream at the top of his and it was very shocking and very, like, holy fucking Christ, calm down. But yeah, toddlers do that. It sucks. I've had people on calls with me while I'm wearing headphones ask who is screeching in the background, and I have to apologize and state that it's my neighbor's child. Even at night, I will hear her screaming all the way in my bedroom, which is the farthest room in my apartment from the door. It's not so much I'm scared screaming that would warrant a different call, or yay, I'm a toddler having fun screaming. It's more of I'm throwing a tantrum screaming, and there are some days where it's near constant. Oh, God. I would put that kid in a box at some point. I'd have to just take a step outside because that would drive me fucking crazy. I will be doing laundry on the bottom floor. We are the top floor. And, okay, I can say this, but at the same time, like, how many floors does your apartment have? Like, is it 2, like mine, or is it, like, 4 or 5? Like, and I can hear her all the way down on the first floor just yelling and screaming clear as day. Man, I tell you what, some kids, their voices just pierce through everything. Like, just the air. Oh, I scratched. Sorry. The air, just doors, walls. It's like you're just in a big auditorium and they scream and it's like they're right next to your head. It's crazy. It can be really bad. I have called and complained about them to our office. They also shout talk in the hallway to each other when they have visitors. Oh, yuck. And no carpet in the hall means it echoes and is loud. Oh, that also really sucks. And I know multiple other neighbors of mine, both on the same floor and downstairs, have called with complaints too. It sounds like it's only like a 2-story building. Yesterday, I'd called in with a bad migraine, and even in my room with the door closed, I could hear her full air raid siren, even until 10 p.m., and that just made my blood boil. It doesn't even sound like her parents are trying to get her to calm down. It almost sounds like her parents are taking the, if I ignore you long enough, you'll shut the fuck up kind of stance. And don't get me wrong, I've definitely had those days where it's like, I just don't feel like dealing with the stress of whatever drama my child is going through at that moment. And so it's like, I'm just going to let him scream for like 5 seconds while I just try to like I try to de-stress and calm myself down so I can talk with him to calm him down. But if they're not calming him down at all, like, or her down at all, like, that just makes things worse for everybody, and that's a really shitty situation to be in. Sorry. I've spoke to my friends with kids and about this, and they've told me to just keep moving because parenting is hard. While I also agree, at the same time, if you live in an apartment complex like that, you have to be considerate of other fucking people. I am an aunt to 2 spectacular kids, so I get it, but I don't think I should have to deal with an out-of-control toddler who screams all day and night. My neighbors already have 2 violations for excessive noise, and I believe 1 more could get them evicted. While the noise is definitely an issue, they have been warned about multiple times by management. I should add that they don't speak English, or I would have talked to them myself, and interferes with both my work and downtime. I can't help but feel immensely guilty knowing that I may get a little girl and her family evicted. But even as I write this post, she is a banshee shrieking and has been on and off for close to half an hour. Would I be the asshole if I filed another noise complaint, even though this may result in a family getting evicted? Edit. Just to make an edit to answer some questions I've been seeing asked repeatedly on here. Noise-canceling headphones aren't always an option for me. My job requires I make calls, and I can't make and take calls with earplugs in. Also, I've had people tell me that they can hear her over said headphones, which is embarrassing. That is very embarrassing. My office space is in an open area, so I can't really noise-proof my home office. It costs $1,000 to break my lease, and I have a roommate to consider. I've been in my apartment for 8 years, and they've only been here for 4 to 5 months. The only thing getting broken around here are eardrums and my patience. I have no clue if she's on the spectrum or not, or if she has a disability. I don't suspect abuse and have not called CPS. However, a wellness check may be in order. I cannot move my home office, nor can I work at a friend's house, as I work in an apartment that works in confidential information, so I need to be at home or at the office. I also suffer from chronic pain, so work from home is easier on me mentally and physically. Also in my post when I said, I'm an aunt, I get it, I mean that I understand kids can be loud. I get it to a fault, not completely, as I'm not a parent, but I understand. Thank you very much for all the feedback that has been given so far. I really appreciate it. I think what a lot of people, I can understand being understanding about a noisy kid. It happens. Shit happens. Kids are loud. But at the same time, yes, they are paying to live there. But so are you. Like, you are paying to live there just like anybody else, and nobody should have to sit there and listen to that kind of stuff. Like, we just recently had neighbors move out. Thank God, because they were the reason we wanted to move so badly, which we still haven't, because they moved out first, / were kicked out. Our apartment hallways smelled like weed, like, so bad. Like, I would have the windows open and Scentsies going and all kinds of stuff, and none of it fucking worked. It was so fucking bad. and the kids were super loud. I would just hear, we had one upstairs and one downstairs. The one downstairs was across the hall from us, and she would just like screech and scream and cuss at her husband and the kids and all this stuff. And her kids were kind of crazy too, I guess. Like, I think one time she told me that her son bit her, and I'm like, well, bite him back, but that's probably a really bad advice. Don't do that. And when I say bite back, I mean like just enough for them to be like, ow, hey, that does hurt. Like, not like full on like try to take a finger off or try to take a chunk out of them. But my issue with it is that when you live in an apartment, you have to understand that there's going to be noise to an extent. But a lot of the times, especially if you live, like I know here in the US, we have a lot of like noise ordinances. So you have to like kind of like keep it down by a certain time. Instead of maybe doing another like complaining to the landlord people, you could try doing some like, when it's like, check and see what your noise ordinance time is in your area, and then say like, okay, hey, like I'm giving them 15 minutes after that cutoff time, and if they're still screeching and being loud as fuck, call the cops, start a paper trail. You know, you can go down and, you know, tell them, be like, hey, like I live in this apartment, the people across from me, they're really fucking loud and I have to work. You know, like they're like this all the time. I just want to start a paper trail. And then that way, like if multiple calls to the police don't help, which sometimes it does, it kind of deters things a little bit. And also the police do usually, or should, have access to like interpreters, so that way they can get their point across, so there shouldn't be any confusion. You can finally, if, you know, for another month or so, if this is just me, some people have less tolerance than that, which that's perfectly fine. After so many calls, they will probably do a wellness check at some point. But that kind of covers all of your bases with it. And you also have a paper trail that it's like, hey, like I don't want them to get in trouble. Ooh, sorry. I don't want them to like get kicked out, but at the same time, like I'm going crazy here. Like I can't take it anymore. So yeah, I mean, I get it. Oh, you know what? Guess what? I forgot. There is an update, so we're about to do an update. So yeah. Hello again. It's been about a month since my original post, and I thought I'd provide an update. Before I get into it, I just want to thank you all for reading my original post and offering your opinion on the matter, whether it was making me the asshole or not. However, to those who told me to pay the $1,000 lease breaking fee or buy a house, I take PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. That's a good response. So, to cut right to it, I ended up filing another noise complaint against the neighbors across the hall after a particularly bad tantrum that involved not only screaming and crying, but banging against their front door as well. It lasted from 6:30 p.m. to roughly 10 p.m. Holy fucking shit. And I managed to get a small snippet on video to show the office staff. The next day, I went to the leasing office and showed the manager the video from the night prior. Needless to say, she was appalled and apologized profusely, stating that she didn't realize they were being that loud on a daily basis. She had me fill out another written complaint and said that they would be sending out a final warning, meaning that if they didn't get their act together in a week, they would be served a 30-day eviction notice. When I filed out another written complaint, she explained to me that the family was Indian and confirmed that neither the husband or wife spoke English, though the wife could understand a bit. She also said that every time they came to the office, the little girl would run around screaming and jumping on furniture, while the mom ignored her behavior. That's my judging face. Even when they went to sign the lease, she said that they brought at least 8 other people and their kids with them, and these kids would also run around screaming and jumping on the furniture. I can only, pause about this for a second. I can only imagine, I just thought about this. How, if you think you're annoyed, living across from these people, or, right next to them, imagine living below them. Just a toddler, running and jumping and going fucking batshit crazy right above your head all fucking time. Imagine, like, having to live across from that, listen to the screeching. Imagine having to live, like, below it and listen to that. I'd go fucking crazy. I know it was suggested she could be on the spectrum or have a disability, but since other kids were behaving like this, I think it's more learned behavior. That's kind of what it sounds like, too. After the warning was sent out, it was quiet. Too quiet. I noticed that their carport was empty, as well as their other car. And it wasn't until the other day when I was coming up the stairs after doing laundry that I saw an older gentleman leaving the apartment. I smiled and gave a polite nod and managed to see that their apartment was completely empty. No furniture, no nothing. It seemed that they abandoned the place as an eviction, from what the office staff told me, wouldn't be that quick. So that's my update. It looks like instead of taking the 7-day warning, they just abandoned their lease instead. They always had visitors, so I think they have a very supportive community around them and probably moved in with friends. Well, while the situation overall sucks, I'm glad that it didn't come to an eviction. Thanks again to you all, and I hope that your day is full of awesome. TLDR. Put in another complaint after a 4-hour tantrum. Neighbors chose to abandon their lease instead of quiet down after a final warning. I have to make a mention, because I know somebody somewhere is going to say something. Or think it at least. So I'm going to say it. You can say that you're glad it didn't come to an eviction. Sorry. I'm going to adjust myself here. But abandoning like that can also have a negative impact on renting from anybody in the future that does, like, background checks and stuff like that. Like, the people that lived catty corner across the hall from us for a while, that we dealt with for almost a year, that did cussing and smoking and dealing drugs right outside our fucking door. Drove me crazy. They did that. And they're probably really lucky that our landlord is as nice as he is, because he doesn't do, like, background checks or anything like that, which is why sometimes we deal with shitty-ass neighbors. And so I can't say for certain if them abandoning like this is going to negatively impact them being able to rent from anybody in the future. But I know that if you do that so often, people are definitely going to look at it a little bit like, what the fuck did you do that you just up and left? I mean, I don't know if breaking a lease and paying the lease break payment nullifies that, or, like, just makes it so it doesn't, you know, like, affect you as badly. I guess I'm not sure about that. I just, like, just thinking about it, I guess I'm not really 100% sure how that works. So, alright. Alright. Am I the asshole for how I handled my brother's girlfriend trying to force to babysit? Oh, okay. Edit. Am I the asshole for how I handled my brother's girlfriend trying to force me to babysit? I'm not sure how to edit the title, but yes, it's a mistake. I'm very interested to know how this is going to work. I've heard multiple stories of people calling, like, CPS or the police for, like, you know, like, hey, like, I'm okay to babysit every once in a while, but don't make me do it all the time. And if you try to drop your kids off and I tell you that I don't want to do it, I will call the fucking police and be like, yo, they just abandoned their kids on my doorstep. I am 30F. I have a brother, Matt, 35, who has been with his girlfriend, Lexi, 33, for 2 years. Lexi has a daughter, Bella, 5. I have a daughter who is 3 years old. Sorry. We all live in the same city, but Matt and Lexi live in the suburbs, and I live in the city center, so about 45 minutes away. While I see Matt on average every 3 weeks, I only see Lexi and Bella every 2 to 3 months at my parents' house for occasions/gatherings. 2 days ago, I got a text from Lexi asking me to babysit Bella on Wednesday because she would not be at school due to teachers being on strike. She said that she forgot about the strike and had not taken the day off of work, and had also made social plans for after her shift ended. I'm sorry, but your child comes before any fucking social gatherings, so it doesn't matter. If your kid doesn't have fucking school that day, then you fucking stay home with them. I mean, I can understand getting somebody to babysit, like, during regular work hours, but the social shit, like, no, I'm sorry. Like, that's, like, a completely separate type of thing to me. I said no to babysitting and thought that was that. Yesterday, around lunchtime, I was having a skin treatment when one of my cleaners came to tell me that Lexi had dropped off Bella. The cleaner had answered the door, and Lexi had said that she arranged to leave Bella with us, and the cleaner was unaware of this, or was unaware this wasn't the plan and let her in. Lexi then left. I was livid, as you should be. As you should be. I immediately called Lexi, and after 4 declined calls and voicemails, I sent her a text saying that if she didn't return for her daughter within 15 minutes, I was going to call the police. God, I lost my spot. I'm so, that's so fucking crazy to me. I had to call the police to say that she'd abandoned her child. I find my husband to tell him what is going on, and he calls Matt and tells him to sort this out. A few minutes after speaking to Matt, Lexi reappears. She marches straight into the den where Bella is watching TV, saying how evil we were for telling Matt and threatening to call the police. Well, ain't that the pot calling the kettle black? I tried to get her to come and speak in the study so Bella couldn't hear, but she just kept going on. I reminded her that she intentionally abandoned her child, but she kept going on about how she was desperate and needed to go to this social arrangement, and how she never has time to do anything. That's what happens when you fucking have kids. They come first, not your little fucking social gatherings. So if you try to find a babysitter and the babysitter can't do anything, or the people you ask say no, tough fucking shit. I reiterated that be that as it may, she can't just leave Bella with us when we didn't agree to it. Lexi kept bringing up excuses until my husband lost it and told her in no uncertain terms to leave. By this point, Bella was in hysterics and Lexi seemed totally frazzled. I mean, I just mostly feel bad for the child in all this because she's watching these adults argue, and that's so shitty for her. Like, I feel really bad for her. This has since turned into a big thing. Lexi has been posting cryptic things on social media about how hard it is to be a mother when people you expect to be there for you won't help you. I've received texts from her saying Bella is devastated to find out that we don't like her. Stop doing this to children. Seriously. Like, my son has an issue with my dad and my stepmom because my son, for the longest time when he was younger, had night terrors. It's for those that don't have kids, or that have kids that didn't deal with night terrors. I looked it up. Night terrors are a common thing. Even my doctor, or his doctor, told us night terrors are very normal. They are a very normal thing that a lot of kids deal with. So they were like, yeah, they're like, oh, like we moved back to the area, and they were like, oh, we want to have him over, like we want him to spend the night, blah, 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 blah. So he did once or twice, and then the second time when I guess he had a night terror, and instead of calling us to be like, hey, like, what do you guys do to get him to calm down? They just tried to ignore him and let him bawl himself, in the little bed that they had for him in their room, and then bitch and complain about it when he woke up at 8 o'clock the next morning because he's a fucking kid, and when she dropped him off, she's just like, until that gets situated, he's not allowed to stay the night anymore. Right in front of my child. And then it was very shitty timing because then COVID hit and, everyone was like, oh, nope, we gotta stay away from one another. And so he was under the impression that his grandpa and Grammy did not love him anymore or did not like him. And he would just, like, be playing in his room and, la da da da, and then he'd just come out and look at me. He goes, Grammy and Grandpa don't like me anymore. And it just broke my fucking heart. Because it's like, how do you explain to a 4-year-old that that's not what the situation is, and that adult made a bad decision and should not have said that in front of him, or treated him like that at all? Like, he still has issues. When my in-laws moved back to town, they lived in Florida most of his life. They just recently moved back within the last year. Actually, we just passed the year that they've moved back. His mama, when he was a little baby, he used to call her Beans, because every time he saw her making something in the kitchen, it had to do with beans. Like, baked beans, or most of the time it was like, like pinto beans or refried beans, something that had to do with tacos or something like that. So he started calling her beans. And we made the joke that he should start calling Papa pork. It's because for pork and beans. And he goes, no, I don't want to do that because I don't want them to hate me. Yeah. That's, leave kids out of that shit. Leave kids out of your adult shit. Leave kids out of your fucking adult drama. That makes you a trash person. My parents have heard about it. Devastated to find out that we don't like her. I've now blocked Lexi. I almost forgot about that part. My parents have heard about it, and while my mother is firmly on my side, my dad said it was it really worth upsetting Bella when she was already there. Matt said that while Lexi was in the wrong, once she had left, we probably should have just kept Bella and argued about it later. I feel like this is just like rolling over and showing your belly and not standing up for yourself. And your boundaries matter. Like, that's something I'm very stern on this show, is your boundaries matter. You said no. No means no. I don't give a flying fuck if that kid's there. It was not okay that you did not have permission to drop your kid off with me. Come get your fucking kid. Because I feel like if you do it once, she's just going to do it again and again, because she's going to be like, well, they say no, but I know that if I show up and drop my kid off, then it's just going to be fine, and I'm going to get what I want. Matt also thinks that my husband owes Lexi an apology for intimidating her, which I don't think he does. No, he fucking doesn't. Because that's bullshit. I'm sorry. Like, you want to show up at my house unannounced, I'll be like, I'll intimidate the fuck out of you to get out of my house. Like, sorry. Oh, sometimes these things just get me too wound up. Okay. I think I made my opinion on that whole story very, very well known. Okay. Am I the asshole for not making my sister a bridesmaid because of her looks? That sounds like an asshole thing to do. From the first, like, just few words of this first sentence I've seen, I think I'd see where this is going, but I'm going to reserve my right to keep my mouth shut. Background. I, 25F, am a homely looking girl. Bitch, I'm homely, okay? Like, I am not a cute person. There is no other way to say it. I am not hot or even pretty by most people's standards. Miss Thang. Obviously, you're hot by somebody's standards because you're getting fucking married. So, I'm just gonna put that out there. My sister, 27F, Bella, hey, another Bella, is one of the most beautiful women who has ever walked this planet. I feel like this is going to make me roll my eyes so hard that they're going to get stuck in the back of my head. Like, got stopped on the streets in the mall multiple times while we were growing up for modeling opportunities. First off, anybody that stops you in the mall for a modeling opportunity, quote unquote, it's not a real modeling opportunity. I guarantee you. That is some TV show bullshit that doesn't happen in real life. We have different dads, and I guess she just won the genetic lottery. There we go, rolling eyes already. I was jealous of her as a kid, especially because we were always compared to one another. I'm 5'4", average body, slightly below average face. Bitch, your freaking personality is slightly below average. I'm trying not to be mean about this. I'm trying, but it's so hard right now. She is 5'11", thin, and all around just really gorgeous. Like, oh my god, she's so pretty. Sorry. I'm gonna be very catty about this. I can just see it now. Bitch, it's quiet time. Stop it. I also have to say, for anybody that was a part of that Today I Fucked Up episode where the echo, like, that used to be up behind me, like, randomly went off, and talked about some lizards. I have not had any, like, problems with that since we moved it into my son's room, and he uses it as an alarm now. So, I don't know. It was weird. She's also a genuinely great person. She's humble and sweet, and even though she could have made a living off of her looks, she ended up going into social work and now works with kids in foster care. This story is just dripping with fucking jealousy, and I'm not here for it, to be honest. Like, you're coming off as a pick-me girl, and I'm kind of fucking over it. She ended up going to work into social work and now works with kids in foster care. Her and I are close. We see one another a bit less since she moved to a new city with her husband, but we constantly text and call. I was her maid of honor 2 years ago at their wedding. 4 months ago, my fiance, 30M, Alan, proposed to me and I said yes. My family was excited for me and they all like him. Him and I have been together for just over 2 years. Bella and Alan are close as well, and we often have them over for dinner or go to their house for game nights. Now to the issue. I thought about it a lot and decided not to have Bella in my bridal party. I just wanted one day where we weren't standing side by side, being compared. I wanted to be the pretty one standing at the altar on my day. I've gotten over my jealousy. Really? Have you? Have you really gotten over your jealousy? Of her for the most part and accepted myself for how I look and who I am. But the thought of everyone looking at her on my wedding broke my heart. This bitch is not going to sit here and make me feel for her on some level. God damn it. She obviously thought she would be my maid of honor, and so before I asked anyone to be in my bridal party, I went over to her house to talk to her. I didn't want her to hear through the grapevine or social media that she was not only my maid of, that she wasn't only not my maid of honor, but not in my bridal party at all. When I went over and told her and explained my reasoning, she started to cry. She didn't get mad at me, but she said it was really hurtful that I'd exclude her because of the way she looks. I understand her point. Her and I are best friends. She's been giving me a bit of the cold shoulder since this happened. Really, you think? Can you blame her? Shit. And my parents, both our mom and each of our dads, have called me a major asshole for doing this to her. She says she's more upset than she's let on, but didn't want to taint my day with drama. She RSVP'd to the wedding invite, so I know she'll still be coming no matter what. But I feel bad that I have excluded her just because of her looks. So, am I the asshole? I can't believe I'm about to say this. It is your wedding day. You get to have the day you want. But, and I'm going to say this very lightly, I think you will eventually regret not having your sister in your bridal party. I think you are going to feel that way because she's your sister and supposedly your best friend. And while I can understand feeling insecure standing next to her because she's apparently very pretty, regardless, that is your day and people are going to be staring at you. I didn't want to have a wedding. When my husband and I got married, I didn't want to have a wedding. I loathed the idea of people staring at me or being the center of attention because I have hated it. I'm not used to it. It was something that I always feel very insecure about. I am very insecure of my looks. I grew up being told, how fat and ugly and stupid I was. And so to have somebody or anybody that loves me for who I am and what I look like on a day-to-day basis is mind-boggling to me. Even now at the age of 32, it is mind-boggling to me that there are people that are like, I find you attractive. Or it's like, I have people that have come out of the woodwork and be like, oh, I found you attractive in high school. I'll be like, well, that doesn't do me any fucking good now. And I don't fucking care. So, good for you, I guess. But at the same time, now it's like, to be the center of attention and to have people looking at me in a positive manner, it's hard. It's very scary because it's like, man, what if they're sitting there talking shit about me? Like, what if I don't know that they don't actually give a flying fuck and they're just here to be in on something like they think something's going to happen. So, I understand. I get where the bride's coming from. I get where OP's coming from. I hate that I'm saying this. I understand where she's coming from. And at the end of the day, it's her day. It's her wedding day. And if she wants to feel like the prettiest girl in the room, or at least the prettiest girl in the bridal party standing up there, then she kind of has every right to do that. But I do really think that down the line, she's going to regret not having her sister in her bridal party. She's going to look at these pictures later, and she's going to be like, man, I really fucked up. Like, my sister was gorgeous that day, and I feel like she had every right to be up there with me, and we were both being the prettiest girls there. That's all I'm going to say on that one. This, I think, is going to be our last one. We're just at the 50-minute mark, so I think we've got enough time for this one and one more opinion, and then we're going to call it good for the day. Am I the asshole for not giving my family a heads up that I'm dating again after my husband's death? I mean, I guess it kind of depends on how close you are with your family, but, I mean, at the same time, it's kind of your business, so... My 54F husband, Tim, and I married right out of college. We had a very happy first decade of marriage, including 2 children, Luke and Beth, who are now 21M and 19F. However, within our 30s, Tim developed severe depression and substance use disorder, alcohol and painkillers. His depression was treatment resistant, and that made him unable to fight his other addictions. Despite numerous inpatient psychiatric stays and several stints in rehab, he passed away of an overdose 5 years ago at age 40. We don't know, and will likely never know, if the overdose was accidental or intentional. After Tim's passing, I was 100% focused on helping our children be as okay as possible. Despite his demons, he was a great dad when he was able to be, and losing him was completely devastating for us all. Lots of individual and family therapy helped, and Luke was able to graduate from high school with high honors and get a college scholarship out of state. Beth graduated last year with similar honors and is now also in college, several states away. With both Luke and Beth now adults and away from home, I can finally focus more on myself. It took me a long time, at least 3 years after Tim's passing, before I could even think about wanting to date again. Then, for the next year, I was focused on getting Beth through her last year of high school and off to college. However, once she went off to school in the fall, I started to dip my toe into dating apps. It's just been slow going. I've probably had a dozen or so dates total, mostly first dates that didn't go anywhere. To be fair, that's what a lot of online dating is. There was one guy I went out with 4 times, but we decided not to continue as we weren't feeling more than that friendship spark. And that's okay too. So here's where the problem is. Last week, a cousin of Tim's saw me out on a date. She was in town for business and just happened to be at the same restaurant. She made a bit of a scene. That's embarrassing. Coming up to the table and demanding to know what I was doing with betraying my husband, which really confused the gentleman I was out with. Yeah, I could see that. She then stormed out and apparently called Tim's parents, who then called Luke and Beth. Oh my fucking god. What a one to end off on. Now everyone is furious at me because I hadn't given a heads up that I was starting to date again. My thoughts was, I don't need to give a play-by-play on my dating life, especially when it might be hurtful. I figured that if I actually started seeing someone regularly, I would let folks know. But until then, there didn't seem to be anything to tell, especially as Tim's parents live across the country and Luke and Beth are away at college. However, everyone, Tim's cousin, his parents, my kids, and assorted other relatives and friends who now know, say I am a huge asshole for not telling people in advance that I was moving on. So, am I the asshole here? Not asking if I am the asshole for dating at all. I've been a widow for 5 years, justifying the asshole for not letting people find out without a protective heads up. No. I feel like dating and being in a relationship... Sorry, I'm gonna adjust my knee here before it goes to sleep. I feel like dating and being in a relationship are 2 different things. I didn't know this as a teenager. I thought that if you were dating somebody, you were in a relationship with them. For me, that was like one and the same. Like, 2 sides of the same coin. It's not. Accidentally zoomed in. Dating and being in a relationship are 2 different things. One leads to the other. But they don't equal one another. dating leads to a relationship. You go on dates. That's how you find out if you have enough in common with the person that you're trying to see if you have enough to be in a relationship with. I don't feel like you needed to, like, maybe you could have told the kids, like, been like, hey, just a heads up, but mommy's starting to date again. Like, I still love your dad, I still miss him, but I miss having somebody to talk to at night and to share intimate moments with. Also, for the record, intimacy does not equal sex. So when I talk about intimacy, I'm not necessarily talking about sex. I feel like you could have let the kids know, like, just as a heads up. Because otherwise I feel like you suddenly telling them, be like, hey, mommy got a boyfriend, like, that would come out of nowhere. Because they're like, I didn't even know you were fucking dating. Like, what? Like, you could have at least let them know. Like, at least let the kids know. That was probably, like, an asshole move to not let them know. But at the same time, I feel like the main asshole in this story is the cousin. Because it's like, that's none of her fucking business. At all. Like, I can understand feeling hurt and being somewhat upset. My mom died when I was 17. My dad started dating shortly after I turned 18. My mom died shortly after I turned 17. So I can understand the feeling of being blindsided, because it was like, my dad came home and he was like, I spent the night out, or I was out at the bar last night and I met this cool chick, and he wasn't hip to texting at the time. And so he was like, here's my phone, here's what I want you to say, text this to her. That was a very awkward position for me to be in. Thinking about it, it still is an awkward position because that's my stepmom now. So I was just like, oh, like, okay, we're doing this, like, okay. So I very much can understand, like, feeling like the asshole, but you're not the asshole in this. You have every right to date. You have every right to try to see new people. Putting your business out there like that was the asshole move. Like, I do think you probably should have, like, at least told your kids to be like, hey, I'm gonna start dating. You know, you guys are grown. You guys are out on your own. I'm here all by myself. I want to try dating. Give them a heads up. Everybody else can go fuck themselves. I'm sorry. Everybody else can go fuck themselves. It's none of their business. I understand, like, feeling some sort of way that, you know, like, your daughter-in-law is kind of no longer your daughter-in-law, and, like, that her moving on and dating somebody else is going to be, like, pushing her away from you. But at the same time, that's not how it works. We, however, are running out of time on here, so we're going to do the outro real quick. And for everyone listening on the podcast, I will see you guys on Wednesday. Thanks, everyone, for listening today. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast. If you know somebody who likes my content, feel free to send me their way in a share. If you would like to send me a message with your own story, rant, question, unpopular opinion, or if you want me to tell others how you fucked up today, or any day, send me a message via any of my social media found in the description. Just look for my cute little avatar you see on whatever app you're listening on. Please give a rating if you enjoyed what you heard today, as I hear that they help out tremendously. And as always, I will catch you all next time. Bye! Okay. And then for everyone watching prior on YouTube, if you want to push buttons, likes, dislikes, I really don't give a shit. The subscribe button, so you know when the uploads go up. These always go up at the same time that the podcast goes up. So it's kind of spread all around. So if you just want to listen, if you want to watch, if you want to do both, hey, whatever works for me. But yep, go ahead, push buttons, leave a comment. I will see you guys next time as well.